In this episode, Deepa Bhasthi spoke about her literary journey and about translating the short story collection, which won the International Booker Prize this year, Heart Lamp. Deepa is a writer and an award-winning literary translator working in Kannada and English. Her cultural criticism, essays, columns, and journalism have been published extensively in India and internationally, including the Paris Review, Himal Southasian ArtReview MOMUS, The Guardian, Mold, Hyperallergic, The Caravan, The Hindu, and Literary Hub. Her published translations from Kannada include works by Kota, Shivarama, Karanth, and Kodagina, Gouramma. She is the recipient of an EnglishPEN Award for her translation of Banu Mushtaq's short stories, the collection titled Heart Lamp. Harshaneeyam would like to thank the International Booker for making this conversation possible.
So I was born and raised in a very small town called Madikeri, that is in Kodagu district in Karnataka. And I am an only child, so there wasn't much to do in Madikeri back in those days. In fact, there's nothing much to do in Madikeri even today.
It's a beautiful place, but I have been there.
It is. Oh, you have? Okay. It is, of course. It's a very beautiful place. But after a point, you get tired of looking outside the window and you want to do something else.
Right.
So I grew up as an only child, and I had access to this extraordinary library that my grandfather left me. He passed away a few months before I was born, so I never met him. But I feel like I do have a very close connection to him because of the library that he left behind. Because I continue to believe that you are the books that you read.
Right.
Most part, at least. So he read a lot of books from the former Soviet Union.
Mhm.
If you remember, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, there was a huge flood that came into India in all languages, including English.
Even they used to visit the small vans, no? They used to visit even small towns and they used to sell books in the.
Yeah, no, I don't remember the small vans. I don't know if they came to Madikeri at all. Okay, but they in at least in Karnataka there was a publisher called Nava Karnataka, so they were the distributors for these books. So every year, or I think twice a year or thrice a year, they used to have these book sales in Madikeri, like traveling book exhibitions. So I used to pick up a lot of books from there as well. And back in those days, these Raduga Progress publishers, all of these books were very, very cheap. I think for a few rupees, you would get like a big, fat, thick book. And for me, that was more value for money somehow in my head. I would end up getting more books.
Printing quality is quite good.
Oh,
no?
fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So I have an amazing collection of those books. And they ended up being the first big books that I read when I was growing up. I mean, obviously, back then I didn't really understand anything much of Tolstoy or Dostoevsky or Pushkin or whoever. And I had to reread all of them in my 20s. But yes, I've always been around books. And there's a favorite story of mine that my mother tells me. Apparently, when I could keep my head up as a baby, she would just let me crawl around on the carpet in our front yard and put a book in front of me, and I would, look at the pictures. And so yes, books have been a part of my entire life, almost literally speaking. So that's how I started reading a lot. And obviously then went through different phases. Then you go through Hardy Boys and Nancy Drews, and that was what was popular back then. I kind of almost missed the Harry Potter buzz, because by then I think only one or two had come out, and I read them, but I had sort of never really took to them, so I haven't read all of Harry Potter.
Yeah. And, I read the article that you wrote for Paris Review, right? And you talked about living in a multilingual environment, and even there were references to the wonderful book Translating Myself and Others by Jhampa Lahiri. right? Would you please talk about the environment? In fact, most of Indians, I think, we go through that kind of environment, and the multilingual environment, which is a bit unusual for Western world, right? Would you like to talk about it, the effect it had on your literary taste and career?
Sure. I think it is only after I started translating that I began to realize that this is not common for most people. Because I think as Indians, like you said,
Yeah,
we grow up with access to so many languages in our everyday lives. And even in the small town where I live, there is a community called the Kodavas who speak a very different, I mean, it's not very different, but it is still a different language. I speak that because I'm married to a Kodava. Um, so even so, no, I just want to say that this is not restricted to a metropolitan city or especially in South India, because Kodagu is very close to Kerala, northern Kerala. So we have a lot of both migrant workers, shopkeepers, people from Kerala, and then we are also very close on the other end to Mangalore and Dakshin Kannada, and so Tulu is again very familiar. My
Konkani
mother is
probably.
from Konkani, not so much for me personally, but yeah, but there's still access to. I had friends in college who were Konkani speakers, so I could back then understand a bit. So I think in South India we have an amazing access to so many languages. I don't know if that is the case with Northern India or West or East
Not
India,
as
but
much,
at
I
least
believe. Yeah.
not as much, I suppose. So it took me a while to realize that this is a very unique position we are in as South Indians. I didn't realize this was common because everywhere you see, people who speak at least, I don't know, three or four
Yes,
languages
yes.
minimum. So I speak Kannada at home. That is my mother tongue, and obviously English. And we have a horrible three language policy in Karnataka. So
Same here.
so I yeah. So I ended up reading Hindi,
Yes.
and then of course back in the day, DD was the only thing. So you invariably understood and consumed culture in Hindi as well. And then there is Kodava, and then there is Tulu, and my I mean, I don't speak it at home, but my community, the community that I was born into, speaks a language called Havyaka, which is much closer to older Kannada than it is to the Kannada today.
You have literature available in Havyaka?
No, not really, not really. It's more spoken. In fact, an aunt of mine wrote several short stories which are far more Havyaka facing than the contemporary Kannada, but that's very rare.
Would you say it's more of a dialect than a language?
I suppose so. Yeah, but it is closer to what is called Hale Kannada, which is old Kannada. Yeah. So a lot of words are not something that we would use today. So I speak that language, though I don't practice it every day. And then on the streets again, there's so many other languages. So I think this beautiful, access that we have to so many language cultures is what informs our uh, everyday lives.
Yeah, translation is part of your life.
Exactly. The moment you get out of the house, you're translating something or the other. And I think for so many of our generation, this is a big bane that we all studied in English medium schools. So at some point, we are more comfortable in English than we are in our mother tongues, which is absolutely tragic, of course. And this is something that I realized again when I started translating, that I was getting closer to Kannada. This was way back in 2012 when I read an article about Kodagina Gouramma in the Hindu newspaper. So Kodagina Gouramma is from Kodagu, where I was born and raised. And I'd vaguely heard of her name here and there, but didn't know anything about her. And 2012 was her birth centenary year, which was why there was a feature in the Hindu about her. And so I decided, I'm going to read some of her stories and see what they are about. And then I read them, and even though they were written almost 100 years ago, they are just as relevant today as they were when she wrote them. So I was fascinated with this author, and I realized nobody knows about her, even outside of, even within Kodagu or outside of Karnataka. She's unknown. And in all my extreme naivety, I decided I'm going to translate this, her collection of stories, and I had absolutely no idea.
That time you started writing your non-fiction articles by that time?
I've always been writing. I mean, that's my job. Yeah, I trained as a journalist, and I was working with a few newspapers before I started freelancing. So my writing has always been. I mean, that's been a priority, and that's what I do. That's what pays the bills, also. So yeah, and then I had no clue how to go about translation or even what translation meant, and so it was literally learning on the job. And the book came out in 2023. um, so it took that particular project took 10 years. I mean, not that I was translating for 10 years.
Have you been publishing those stories in local journals or something?
No, I just not really. I mean, it just straight went into the book. Also, because, like I said, I had no clue what any of this meant or how one goes about doing any of this. So Yoda Press was the first and only publisher that I approached, and they agreed to publish it. So that was that. And of course, now I hope I have a little more understanding of the whole
Yeah.
process. But
No, you will be made to
yeah, well,
understand. Don't worry now.
yeah, I know. I'm a lot more clued in. So not as clueless and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
naive as I
yeah.
used to be.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the advantage, you get lot of exposure, lot of people will get to know your work, you know. Right. Now, yeah, and then you moved on to Karanth, right? The great
Yes,
Karanth. Yeah,
yes, the
yeah,
great Karanth. And
yeah.
that was, in fact, when I was asked to do this by the Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara, which is the translation wing of the Karnataka Sahitya Parishad. There was no way I could say no. It's affiliated to the government. It's not a private institution. So that's a translation wing. They support translations from and into Kannada. So Kannada to any other language and any other language to Kannada as well. So when I was asked to do this, I mean, it is Karanth. It is the Karanth. Who was I to say no?
Right, right, right.
So I mean, it is the novel is called Ade Uru Ade Mara in Kannada, and it's not one of his best known works.
Mhm.
But I mean, I was just very honored to be asked. So of course, again, that was another clueless project that I got into. I want to say, because again, when it's a government institution, they have their own set of parameters, and so that was different. I mean, it was fun. Obviously, it was amazingly fun. Translation is very fashionable in publishing globally right now, and rightly so. I mean, it certainly deserves as much attention as it's getting, and much more. But I think in countries like India, where we talked about this, where we operate in so many different languages, I think we've all been translating all our lives in some way or the other. You know, right from the time we stepped out, as children and went to our first schools, we've been translating these experiences between the language we are taught in schools and the language we speak at home. So we're translating between our parents, our families, our experiences with friends. So I think in countries like India, where we have so many different languages and so many different cultures, so we are all translators, so it is just in so many ways it just feels very natural to be bringing these experiences to the books that we read or to the books we translate. And I just hope that all this attention just makes people read more fiction. I think that is something that is still lacking in the readership in India, that read more women, read more translations.
As far as the translation, English translators from Kannada to English, now I think I know three of you, right? You are there, and Vanamala Vishwanatha, very senior translator, and Srinath Perur, of course, he translates Vivek Shanbaga and all. I think the community is getting strong day by day. You have so many
I
people.
hope so. I really, really hope so. But yeah, I mean, they're not enough, because if you look at the number of translations which come out from, even just keeping to the south, from Malayalam or from Tamil, they have incredible work that's coming out, several translations every year. And it's not, Malayalam and Tamil is doing amazing,
Great, yeah,
amazing
they're doing
work.
great job. Yes.
So it's not like Kannada or even Telugu. For I assume you're a Telugu speaker.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, it's not that we don't have similar amazing literature in our
Yes,
languages.
yes.
But I think for whatever reason, the translations are not as frequent or as popular as they are in Tamil and Malayalam. And I desperately hope that changes, because we have extraordinary literature as well. So,
More than 1,000-year-old literature we all have.
absolutely. Yeah. In Kannada, it's, I think, easily 2000 years old, and the written literature is 1500 years old. So, I hope we have more translators. I hope there are more younger translators as well.
Yes, yes. Workshops, residencies, these things will help actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also, it's also about creating this ecosystem that supports translations as well. Because as one individual translator, you can only do so much. So there has to be, and it's not just financial support, there has to be support from the authors, from publishers, from readers. So it's this whole ecosystem that has to kind of come together and decide, and I hope it happens soon for both Kannada and Telugu.
Yes, thank you. It's needed. Now we'll move on to the short story collection, which is longlisted for International Booker this year. Congratulations to begin with.
Thank you.
Yeah. And about Heart Lamp, mm, see, I understand the author, Banu Mushtaq. She's from Hassan. It's Hassan and Madikere, I think they are close by.
Uh, they're about 100 kilometers, roughly 90 something, 90 kilometers something. Yeah.
But the community that she comes from, and of course the community that you come from, you have different tradition,
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah.
culturally, there are a lot of differences and all.
Yeah.
So were you made to do a lot of groundwork before you started translating her, or how is it?
Yes. So I like to, I mean, like you said, even though it is 100 kilometers apart, it's a very widely different landscape. And not just culturally, but also geographically, we are up in the hills, and Hassan is more in the plains.
And that makes a huge difference culturally, I guess.
Makes a huge difference culturally and also linguistically. I think we all again understand this in India, that every 50 or 100 kilometers you go, everything changes. Everything changes. So it's almost like we are living in different countries. Um, so yes, I mean, it's not that she uses a fairly standard Kannada. So her Kannada was not very difficult to understand, save for some words which were very local to the Hassan region. Otherwise, it was fairly easy. But what I initially had trouble was to get into the culture that she's writing from. And one is this idea that it's a minority community, and you have to be especially in today's India, you have to be a lot more sensitive and working with anything from from minority communities. And so, which is why I like to, whether it is with Banu or possibly what I translate next, or what I did earlier, I like to kind of immerse myself in this, in the culture of the stories that are being that the stories are written in. With Gouramma, it was super easy because I am from the same region. I'm same from the same social class as well. And even with Karanth, it was not so bad because again, I'm from half my family is from the Dakshin Kannada region. So I'm familiar with the culture, with the terminal, with the specific words there. But with Banu, it was wildly different. So I spent a very long time just kind of getting into that culture. So which is how I've written it in several places by now, I think. So I started watching a lot of Pakistani dramas, which are highly addictive and took I don't know, I spent months on addicted to them.
Yeah.
And I was listening to music from, again, these are not new discoveries for me, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan or Ali Sethi, Aruj Aftab, or the older ghazals. Or um so I in a recent article by Jayashree Kalatil, I think she's quoted Daisy Rockwell saying how translation is so much about these invisible force fields, and that includes your history, your linguistics, culture, and so many different things. So it's never a point of just substituting one word for the other. So I mean, I was very thrilled to know that there could be a phrase for this, the invisible force fields. So that these invisible force fields took a little while for me to get into. But uh, but yeah, so that I kind of relied on that. And obviously she was there to clarify any questions that I had. And if when there were some very specific Hassan dialect, I mean, I won't say their dialect, but Hassan specific words that she was using. So yes, that's how.
Now we'll move on to the stories, two stories that we
Okay.
have selected. One is the Shroud.
Yeah.
And please introduce us to both of the stories about the theme. And the other one is the Arabic teacher and the Gobi Manchurian.
Yeah.
Both are very, very humorously told, in a very
Yes.
funny way.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
very
that's a
funny.
trademark of the writer, I guess. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So she is very subtly funny in her. Banu is very subtly funny in her stories, which is a quality I greatly admire. This whole subtlety about anything.
Yeah.
And when she's criticizing patriarchy, also she's very, very subtle. So it's nothing.
No, there is a strong, undercurrent of patriarchal thing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But it's told in a very, very lighter, humorous way.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think is always a far more effective than, kind of shoving something in your face, because a human being's natural reaction is to kind of back off when it's in your face. So the subtlety is something that I greatly enjoy in her stories. And these two, the Shroud and the Arabic teacher and Gobi Manchuria, are from her sixth collection, which released in Kannada in December 23, if I'm not mistaken.
You have read all her stories and you have compiled this, or how is it actually? I don't think the same version is available in Kannada, right?
No, it's not. It's not. So these are selected stories. So Banu so far has six collections of short stories, and the first five, I think, individually are long out of print. So in 2013, her publisher compiled the first five collections into one big fat book, which was titled Hasina Mattu Itara Kategalu, Hasina and Other Stories. So there are, I think, around 50 stories in across these five collections in one big book. And I chose 10 stories from them. And these two, the Shroud and Arabic teacher and Gobi Manchuri, is from her sixth collection. So so these stories are chosen from six collections. And no, they don't exist in the same form in Kannada. So they exist as two books in Kannada. One of the really fun things in Banu's stories is that she uses very simple, everyday, common objects as protagonists at times in her stories. So elsewhere, it is a bottle of Pepsi, Elsewhere, it is a pair of high heels, or something else. So she takes these small objects and centers the entire story around them. And that is what she has done in the shroud also. In Kannada, it's called kafan. So, and that is the the shroud is what the Muslims drape the body with before the funeral happens, right? So she takes these everyday objects and creates an entire world around them. So the shroud is about a rich lady who promises to bring a shroud from Mecca for a maid who comes to her house occasionally to work. And without giving too much away, well, she doesn't bring this. She doesn't bring the shroud back, and then that's the whole story. And the whole story is also about what happens. I mean, the consequences of her failure to do this one little thing. And it's a fantastic comment on the class system, yeah, which I think is a slightly rarer theme for Banu. Maybe that is something she's adopting going forward. I don't know in her newer stories, but in her older stories, the class commentary is not so evident as much as it is here in the Shroud. And so yeah, so that's the Shroud. And the Arabic teacher and Gobi Manchuri is a hilarious story again, because if you know, a lot of Muslim families hire an Arabic teacher for their children. So because the Quran is written in Arabic, and this is religious education. So there is a religious teacher who comes to the narrator's house to teach her two daughters. And very surprisingly, he is absolutely obsessed with gobi Manchurian, which is a pan-Indian,
Yes.
street food in India, which
Right.
has nothing to do with
Yes.
China or Chinese food or anything at all.
Nothing Chinese about it, actually.
Nothing, absolutely nothing Chinese about it. So he's absolutely obsessed with this dish, and the story is about, again, the consequences of his obsession with this particular dish. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was an absolutely great commentary, not just on there's not so much as patriarchy there as this, utter bewilderment that people have, that how can a man be obsessed with food. So somehow there is this idea of the pressure that is put on men to behave in a certain way, to be these masculine people who don't care what goes on in the kitchen, or who don't so I loved that commentary there. And it's also, again, the other thing is, I think somewhere one of the characters is kind of very surprised that he's obsessed with a vegetarian dish, because gobi Manchurian is made from cauliflower. There's no meat in it. So again, there is this idea that how can someone not, okay, if you have to love a dish obsessively, why is it not biryani or kebabs or something else? So it's this very subtle thing, which is beautiful and so hilarious in her in that story. Yeah.
Normally, the idiomatic usage, if you are translating it to English, you tend to give English equivalents.
Yeah.
At certain places, I find that you have not done that. For example, flying in his own world. That usage is there in Telugu as well. That's why I was able to get
I'm
it.
sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
did you choose to do that?
Oh yeah, I love this topic. um, because we are not trying to write like the English. That's my one sentence answer. I mean, we shouldn't, because we are not them. We should not be them, ideally. And this is where I keep going back to this phrase of uh, translating with an accent. If you go abroad, you're immediately noted as, okay, either very specifically from India, or at least the broader South
Yes,
Asian
yes,
region.
yes,
And we might not recognize our accents within the country, because we all speak pretty
yes.
much the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
way.
yeah, right.
But and the thing is, when you speak with an accent, the other person knows that you know another language or possibly many other languages, which is why you have this accent. And someone who speaks only one language does not have that kind of tones and nuances in their speeches. So my thinking was, when we have that in our spoken practices, then why is it that we can't have similar ideas in translation as well?
Right.
Because I want the reader to understand that this book is coming from another culture, that
Yes.
this is not an English book. I will make it. I'm not trying to exoticize any language here, but I am going to make sure that you understand there is another whole culture where these stories originated.
Yeah.
Which is why all these all these very phrases are literally translated sometimes, and I didn't want it to be a, within quotes, proper English, because none of us in India speak proper English, whatever
And I don't know
proper
what
English
proper
means.
English means, by the way.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. It is. So, I mean, I suppose you can guess it is either American or this British English, which is seen as
Yeah,
the.
even in British, they have different dialects, different accent, different
Exactly.
usage of words.
Exactly. So, these aspirational English, whatever they might be, is not the point of translations at all. So, but of course, it is important to create a sort of delicate balance. You can't have too many of these, because then that becomes exotic, and it's too.
No, you have used them very sparingly. I could see that, very, very.
Yes, so that balance, I think, is what I wanted to achieve, and hopefully that comes through.
Yeah, it comes
So
very clearly.
thank you.
It's a very nice
Yeah,
translation. Wonderful
thank
translation.
you.
One more question I have, that is, what are you currently working on, Deepa? Translation.
Ah, okay. I am actually reading a lot of Kannada books, hopefully to find my next project. But there is one that I have just acquired the rights for. It's a novel by a debut author called Samudyata Venkatramu. She is from the Malnad, Central Karnataka region. And she has been a homemaker all her life and pretty much never written a word. And then during the pandemic, she opened a Facebook account and she started writing little poems here and there. And then she comes out with this extraordinarily amazing novel in earlier this year, which spans a century. And it talks about the story of one woman from the time she's born till she's about 90 years old. And along the way, there is reference to man-made disasters, climate change. There is commentary on the abuse of widows, in conservative societies, how there is this, how patriarchy ensures they never are left alone. And there is commentary on forced homosexual marriages. How people from the queer community are forced to get into straight marriages just because, what will people say, that typical line. So it's incredible, and she does all of this in, I think, around 140 pages, which is absolutely incredible.
So you read it and you acquired the rights to get into English. And then you are going to pitch it to publishers once you finish it.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yes. I mean, I think I'm going to take some time because this Booker thing is keeping me very busy right now. But yes, hopefully I'll have something soon. And yeah, very excited. And what absolutely drew me to the book was also the fact that so much of her language uh, is almost like a homage to Kuempu's writing. And Coempu is my absolutely, I mean, he's amazing. He's a such a revered author, and some of her sentences kind of remind me of Coempu's sentences. So there is a wonderful depth to her writing, which I'm pretty excited about. Yeah.
Would you like to read a couple of pages from any of these stories?
Sure. I thought I would read something from the Arabic teacher and Gobi Manchuri. So this is a sequence where the narrator uh, has she's not aware of this teacher's obsession with Gobi Manchuri yet, and he is someone who comes to her house to teach her children. Are the children back from school? I asked, the moment my cook opened the door. I went into my bedroom and immediately slipped into a deep sleep. By the time I woke and was about to get out of bed, several voices, all talking at once, drifted from the kitchen. In an instant, all the suspicions I had about the Arabic teacher grew like a giant, and I hurried down, taking 2 steps at a time to reach the kitchen, where I saw oil heating in a pan, a heap of cauliflower florets sitting in a bowl. Asia and Amina's hands were decorated with oil, dough, and such other things. The Arabic teacher was sitting on a chair in a corner. Their faces fell when they saw me. The teacher became so pale that he seemed about to faint. I did not understand what was happening, and seeing me furious, the teacher got up and ran out into the street. The kitchen was telling a different story altogether. Both Asia and Amina explained in detail, between copious amounts of crying. From what I understood, the Arabic teacher was crazy about gobi manchuri. Thanks to his passion for the cauliflower snack, he was spending a lot of money every day to buy a plate of it and satisfy his desire, though the desire to eat it to his heart's content remained unfulfilled. He had decided that only in our kitchen was there to be found an unending supply of the dish, which was why he had hatched a plan with the girls. They had asked the cook and got the recipe from her. The cook did not know how to make such junk food, but unable to refuse when the children asked, she gave them a made up recipe. It was when the three of them were in the process of executing their plan that I barged in on them. I breathed a sigh of relief after listening to all this, happy that nothing untoward had taken place. If relatives had seen them instead of me, it would have been a disaster. The incident would have grown wings and spread, taking on strange forms depending on the fertility of the gossiper's imagination. Thankfully, we were spared that, and I breathed another sigh of relief. My guess turned out to be right. That teacher wouldn't even look in the direction of our house again. I kept hearing news about him though. He had looked for a bride in a few of my clients' houses, but for strange reasons, none of the proposals had worked out. Abdul Subhan, an old client, would often come to discuss his case just as the office was closing, and would talk about personal matters as well. One evening, he stood near the door and said, "See, madam, there is a proposal which has come for my youngest daughter. The boy is a Maulvi in our Azim Masjid, but he is not from our state. He is from somewhere in the north. I could get her married off to a thief from here, even, but one cannot trust outsiders." That is true. What happened then? He gave your name, which is why initially I thought I could get a house on rent, pay the advance myself, buy whatever was needed for the house, and have them live close to me. But then, where will I search for him if he disappears after fathering one or two children? Who will look after my daughter and her children? I decided I did not want that trouble and dropped it, madam. I thought he had done the right thing. Another 2 3 months passed. Salima Jan, a cook who used to work in our house and had then quit because of ill health, came looking for me one Sunday evening. She knew when I would be under pressure and when I would be free. She started chatting about this and that. Akka, a proposal has come for my sister's daughter. I don't do anything without asking you, which is why I have come. The girl has passed her Bachelor of Arts exam and is a teacher in a government school. Salima, like others in the area, mixed the words for convent and government schools together. She continued, "This girl is the only child of her parents, nor does he have a family to boast of. They thought they could have him live with them. For some reason, the moment I heard this introduction, I knew our hero had a part to play. I reined in my curiosity and casually asked, "Who is the boy?" "That Maulvi Hazrat, the teacher who used to come to teach your children, that same boy." I began to suspect that something was amiss here, given how my name was being dragged into all this. Did the proposal work out? "When is the wedding?" I asked. How could it work out? Even when she goes to the convent, our girl wears the burqa. He didn't ask to meet her even once. He didn't ask about what we would give or take during the wedding. He waited for the girl to leave the house, stopped her in the middle of the road, and asked whether she knows how to make gube manchari, whatever that is. What sort of a man is he? She asked herself, and became quiet for a minute.
Nice. Wonderful. Thank you, Deepa, for your time. And all the very best for the competition. Hope to see you in shortlist to begin with.
Thank you.
Will you get to know beforehand, or how is it?
I hope to get to know at least today, so there's not immediate shock. But yes, fingers crossed.
Take care. All the very best.
Yeah, thank you, Anil.